Alright, here it goes. We are in book 3. This is what it looks like in the front. And we are now at part 1, story 2, God and the Grumblers. I said crumblers a while ago, but it's grumblers. Okay, now that makes more sense. Okay, flip my marker around. Okay, not long after the death of Nahab and Abihu, Abihu, some somebody noticed that the cloud that had hovered over the tabernacle for the past 7 weeks seemed to be moving again. Word spread like wildfire throughout the camp. The cloud, look, the cloud, it's moving. It was, and it was moving towards the promised land. What excitement! They were going to leave Sinai at last. In a little while they would be in Canaan. It seemed too good to be true. Eagerly the people packed up their goods and folded their tents, ready for the journey. Cattle and sheep were rounded up, oxen were harnessed to the wagons. The Levites began to take the tabernacle apart and roll up the massive curtain, covering the precious furniture with cloths that have been made for that purpose, special cloths. Soon, and that kind of reminds me of what we do when we have communion. We kind of have a cloth over the top of it. It's just my church. Okay. Soon the whole camp was on the march. No illustration yet. Okay. For 3 days they journeyed. Once more the cloud stood still. The Levites put up the tabernacle, and the 12 tribes camped around it. At first the people were very happy, happier indeed than they had been since that wonderful night when they left Egypt. They felt that they were on their way at last. Soon they would be in Canaan, land of their dreams. So they thought, but it was not to be. They were not ready for Canaan. There had they they had more lessons to learn. They had they had seen God's miracle in the Red Sea. They had heard his voice from Mount Sinai. They have eaten his manna every day for many months, but they did not truly love him. Their faith in him was still very weak. They had not been at their new campsite. Wait, okay, rewind. They had not been at their new campsite many days when grumbling broke out again. Some complained about one thing and some complained about the other. Some didn't like the fearful desert they were in and wished they were back at Sinai. Others said there wasn't enough grass for the cattle. Others thought they were walking too to far to get water. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord. Fire broke out in the camp. Many people were burnt to death. When the people cried to Moses for help, he prayed to God, and the fire was quenched. In other words, it was put out. But even this lesson did not stop the grumbling for long. Soon it began again. Some of the mixed multitude who had came along with Israel from Egypt began it this time about the Israelis who were quick to join them. Now the trouble was food. They were tired of manna and wanted meat. Who shall give us flesh to eat? They cried. We remember the fish which we ate in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, the garlic. It's a funny way of spelling garlic. The way they got it spelled, it's got a K at the end. It's weird. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna. There was a sneer in their voice as they said, this manna. And God did not like it. And he liked it less when they all began to weep about it, every man at the door of his tent. Poor foolish people. They could remember all the good things they had to eat in Egypt. But it's got two hats. But had forgotten the bondage they had endured, the taskmasters, the beatings, the heavy work. Yes, and they had forgotten all that God had done for them during their 14 months of freedom. 14 months, so they were in there 14. They only been, this is only 14 months in the thing. Once more Moses turned to God for help. Whence shall I have flesh to give unto all this people? He said, for they weep unto me, saying, give us flesh, that we may eat. And God told him not to worry. He would see that the people got flesh, and that it would last them a whole month. But how? Moses said. The people among whom I am are 600,000 footmen, and thou hast said, I will give them flesh, and they may eat a whole month. Shall the flock and the herds be slain for them, or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them? And the Lord said to Moses, It is the Lord's hand waxed short? Thou shalt see now whether my words shall come to pass unto thee or not. And we do have an illustration of them fussing down at the bottom. See? Fussy. Complaining. Because they don't think they got enough. When he always gives you enough. Okay? Moses should have remembered too, for the Lord had helped him out of a tight corner like this one before, soon after the Israelis had left Egypt. The next day the wind began to blow from the Red Sea, and with it came the quail again, only this time in countless thousands. The air was thick with them. They flew very low, about 3 feet above the ground. And as they did so, the people knocked them down with sticks and caught them with their bare hands. Every man and woman, every boy and girl collected heaps of them. What a feast! They had cried for flesh, and now they have it. all they could eat. For days and days they ate nothing but quail, morning, noon, and night. They didn't bother about they didn't bother about the manna, just the quail. And they ate quail flesh until they were sick of the very sight of it. Many ate so much they became ill. A plague broke out. Hundreds died of food poisoning and overeating. Every day there were more and more funerals. So many people died that this first stopping place on the road to Canaan was given a new name, Kibroth Hatava. Kibroth Hatava. That's what it says. And I can spell it out for you. Kibroth. Kibroth. Then Hat, Hatavah. Hatava. It's a long name, but it's worth remembering. It means the grave, graves of lust. That's where the greedy people were buried. That's what it's called. Weird. And then down at the bottom, got them eating the quail. See? And the man looks like he's miserable eating it. And that was part 1, story 2, and volume 3. And we'll go to the next one here in a bit. Okay? See ya.